talk about how humans and machines will hang together in the future. Human intelligence, HI, and AI, artificial intelligence, how are they related? How will they overlap? Will one succumb to the other? Well, on a simple level, we can safely say that machines are learning pretty much any routine that humans have done for a long time, whether it's filing or fact-checking or simple translation or putting together an NDA or driving a car, flying an airplane. On some level, at least, those routines will be automated. And the Oxford report on automation said 6 years ago that between 40 and 60% of all jobs can be automated. But a new report, I think McKinsey and also Oxford, saying that only 5% of the routines can be completely automated. Right? When machines take over our routine, for example, in the call center, taking simple calls, changing people's flight itinerary and so, it doesn't mean that we're going to be out of a job. It just means that there's a routine less. Right? There's less tasks for us to do, less commodity work, less donkey work, whatever you want to call it, right? Less standardized work, the grunt work that we have to do. And we can move up and do other more meaningful things. 100 years ago, 90% of people were working in agriculture, and that number is less than 2% now in most countries. We have moved up to doing agriculture differently, and we will do that again. Right? The end of routine is not the end of work. Right? The end of routine is just simply going to be about new routines emerging and new possibilities emerging that are beyond the reach of machines. It is important that we define artificial intelligence. And if you're looking at this simple mock-up of Amelia, the IP soft intelligent assistance for banks here at Credit Suisse, it's quite simple that, what happens here is that as Demis, CEO of DeepMind, is computer systems that turn information and data into knowledge. But this knowledge is machine knowledge. Right? It's zeros and ones, it's logic, it's binary, and this is what Amelia does. And she is binary. She's giving. She's not flexible or intelligent like a human, which requires a dozen different kinds of intelligence: social, emotional, kinesthetic, musical. Right? Amelia cannot and shouldn't have that. Right? And then, of course, we have the Samsung Neon, which is essentially what they call an artificial human. Now that is kind of a stretch, right? Even for marketing people. It's essentially an avatar that behaves like a human. And we've seen that in many science fiction movies, but don't be fooled here. This is still just essentially a video construction. And that avatar can speak intelligently by going to huge databases of responses, right? An intelligent system that has learned, machine learning and deep learning, how to respond, and has a certain kind of knowledge. And really what humans have is a much complexer view of reality. So important when we look at AI, we go beyond this definition of artificial intelligence that Demis has provided, thankfully, towards what really matters, and that is deep learning and machine learning. And machine learning, in a nutshell, is giving the computers the ability to learn and find insights without programming them. And this is, of course, the definition of learning. But will those machines learn like humans? Not really. If you watch how the first AI, I think 2015, beat Atari Breakout, beat all other humans, right, in, I think, 200 minutes, that's something that machines can learn, right? It's without programming, just by observing and running hundreds of millions of possible combinations. On top of that, of course, the real action today is deep learning. That's creating patterns for the use in decision making. And that is, of course, what's being studied everywhere. That's behind the AlphaGo and all the victories of the machines over humans, all the way from television shows and from Jeopardy all the way up to, of course, chess and so on. So that is happening. Very important to understand the differences. And for example, in supply chain, that would clearly be a vast difference if a machine could learn and make sense of it and find new patterns, because we're talking about millions of data. Going back to the game changes. I mean, it all starts with having lots of data available. This is why the companies that own data or that have access to them are the kings of the hill. This is why the data economy is more powerful than the oil and gas economy or banking or insurances or even making weapons. And when we move into the cloud with that data, then it becomes a completely different cup of tea, because then it's about access and about coming up with new concepts to get into the data and do different things, and then we make the data smart. So those three game changers are all of a sudden rewriting the way that we look at data, the way that we look at the world and what we can create here. So these are the central three game changers in our shift towards a smart society. And it's really quite clear when we are looking at what's happening with data and technology and cloud computing and AI, anything that can be digitized, automated, robotized, virtualized, cognified, game changers, mega shifts, that will be. And many people are arguing that when that happens, then we become useless humans, and I don't agree. I don't think we're going to be useless because machines can do the routines. Because what really matters for humans, it's the way that we look at the world. It's our mindset. It's our creativity, our emotions, our consciousness, our human agency, our compassion. The things that make us human, try to digitize those. I think really what's happening, anything that cannot be digitized or automated becomes even more valuable. And I think that's our ticket for the future of work. That's our ticket for the future, period, because machines will learn those things that doesn't need us. So let's say